Good evening. Thank you for this most unexpected honor. I apologize for not being with you tonight, but the timing of this session collided with the first night of Passover, and so I am with my family in person, but with all of you in spirit. When I began preparation for this talk, I was asked about my leadership style, and I reflexively responded that throughout my career, I have led from behind, embracing the view of Nelson Mandela, who wrote, and I quote, "It is better to lead from behind and put others in front, especially when you celebrate victory when nice things occur." But the challenges of the day, where publicly funded research is under attack, make it necessary to refine this approach. It is therefore particularly meaningful to me to be awarded the Howard Schachman Public Service Award. Dr. Schachman was a unicorn, a brilliant experimentalist who was also a staunch proponent of using science to forge practical public policy. In an essay published in the JBC in 2006, he surveyed the history of many policy issues. Perhaps most prescient were his comments about the many times politics has encroached upon federal support of research. From the inception of public funding for science, tension has persisted among Congress, funding agencies, investigators, and university administrators over indirect costs. In the 1950s, fueled by McCarthyism, grants to prominent scientists, including two-time Nobel laureate Linus Pauling, were canceled. In the early 1970s, NIH Director Robert Marston was removed for refusing to follow the direction of the White House to cut funding for basic research. Senator Proxmire, Democrat from Wisconsin, launched his infamous Golden Fleece Awards based on his assessment of work that he felt was frivolous. And in the early 1980s, Representative Albert Gore Jr., Democrat from Tennessee, conducted investigations into research fraud for the House Science and Technology Committee. Now, if I had given this address 6 months ago, many of you would be wondering now, why is this old guy talking about this ancient history? But today, all too painfully, we find that history has repeated itself. In February, I found it necessary to retire from NIH, and thus I look from the outside as once again political ideology has collided with the conduct and support of science in this nation. And at the center of controversy, once again, are indirect costs, the specter of fraud, how grant applications should be reviewed, and the issue of who should ultimately decide what type of work is worthy of support from the federal government. The events unfolding threaten the very existence of NIH and other science agencies, and with that, our country's primacy in biomedical research. But to all of you, I say emphatically, all hope is not lost. Whether you are a freshman in college, a professor emeritus, or everyone in between, you have the power to do something proactively to turn things to a more stable situation. To accomplish this, please consider how science recovered from these various challenges over the years. The strategy is summarized by a line from the movie Gladiator, where Proximo explains to enslaved Maximus that he must, quote, win the crowd to gain what he wanted, his freedom. The crowd in our case, of course, refers to traditional stakeholders of the research ecosystem: patients and their advocates, students and trainees, investigators, university leadership, funding officials, members of Congress, and the administration. But citizens and communities across the country who have no direct connection in science must also be factored into this calculus. A Gallup poll in 2023 reported that only 36% of Americans have a great deal, or quite a lot of, confidence in higher education. That represents a drop of 20% since 2015. There have always been those who criticize universities as being elitist and out of touch with mainstream society. But up until recently, there was always sufficient room to view education as a path to better oneself. Today, however, there are attacks against any public funding of a college education, and both public and private universities are being viewed as delinquent in preparing students to take their place within society. Now is a time to be more practical in what is offered to and demanded of students. For example, some institutions have pioneered the use of required externships. Their success in graduating and placing students in jobs following graduation has been strong. It is a truism that all politics are local, and so institutions must be proactive in reaching out to surrounding communities to demonstrate the true value that they add to their immediate neighborhood. Honest engagement with local patient advocacy groups can also enhance the value of your institution to the public. What more can your institution do to aid these critically important voices? Faculty, university administrators, and institutional trustees need to all get on the same page regarding indirect cost recovery. Aspirations, incentives, and institutional resources must be adjusted so that faculty are not forced to bring in multiple grants, university administrators are not pushing for greater expansion of research space, incentives to add things to charge against indirect costs are eliminated, and trustees must agree that the era of the five-crane dean is over. Bigger is not always better. All stakeholders must come to the table and do a prudent and more realistic reset of the OMB Circular 821. But perhaps most important is that each of you, regardless of your political views, must convince your elected officials to find common ground. So many congressional giants who champion support for science are gone. People like John Porter, Barbara Mikulski, Roy Blunt, and Lamar Alexander. We must expand the number of champions for research in Congress. I implore each of you to contact your own senators and representatives to express your concern about what a loss of public support for science will mean for this country going forward. Try to visit with them personally when they are in your state or home district. Invite them to your institution to show what the difference research makes in the lives of all their constituents. Many do not understand how much the scientific enterprise depends on federal support. I recall not too long ago a very senior member of Congress once earnestly asking me why we needed NIH when the university in their district was conducting so much research. And finally, even if your work is as fundamental as Dr. Schachman's was, it will someday touch the lives of others in either a direct or indirect manner. Articulate that. Do not cloak yourselves in exceptionalism. It will not resonate and will only serve to further alienate people. Now, some of the students and fellows in the audience may be thinking, is this all worth it? Wouldn't I be better off going into patent law or hedge funds? For most of you, the value proposition to pursue your most creative dreams is still strong. But please do not do so blindly. You must always align your goals within the contours of current administration priorities. If you are engaged in fundamental research, make certain to explain the significance of your work not only to your narrow field, but well beyond. If you wish to address health disparities, frame your approach at the macro and community level, and strengthen your questions with as many objective measures as possible. Invest in building multifunctional tools and methods that will be repurposed in the future. And at all costs, resist the temptation to be glib or cute in your narrative or in your use of acronyms. Your attempt at humor may not resonate and could work against you. Today, even those of us who are comfortable in leading from behind must each step out forwardly and proactively to work with all stakeholders. Only then will the current chaos begin to reorder. Now, what emerges will doubtlessly be different than what we had, but scientific progress will ultimately go forward. I hope you all will remain a part of that effort. Thank you all again for your kindness in awarding me this honor, and I hope you have a wonderful meeting.